delighted to introduce Why India Votes. Please welcome Mukulika Banerjee, Manvendra Singh, Nilanjan, Mukhopadhyay in conversation with Sudhir Chaudhary. Democracy Dialogues is the theme.
It will remain like this only. Okay.
You're going to be standing?
Should we start?
TV at.
Namaskar. My name is Sudhir Chaudhary. I'm the editor of Z News. And I had discussed a few concepts with the panelists, and with their permission, we just thought that we'll try to make this session bilingual, because since we are talking about votes, since we are talking about India, so there has to be some sort of Hindi in it. So we'll make it bilingual. I'm sure most of the people understand Hindi. And no? Okay.
Louder, louder. At the back,
Okay.
the volume.
So let me introduce my panelists. We have Nilanjan Mukhopadhyay with us. I must tell you that he is a college dropout.
It's the best degree I've ever got.
Became a journalist later, and he has worked with some of the biggest newspapers in this country. Presently, he anchors a TV show, and he is also author of 2 books. One is Narendra Modi's biography, and the second one is on Sangh Parivar. He specializes on Sangh Parivar. So we welcome him, Nilanjan. We have Mukulika Banerjee. She is a graduate. She went to college.
And much more.
In fact, she is teaching in London School of Economics. She's an assistant professor there. She is also an author, has written books on Pathan. She has written a book on Indian politics, Why India Votes. And she has also written a book on why women wear saris. And of course, we have Manvendra Singh here. Again, he is a journalist. He's still writing. He writes mostly on defense affairs. And he's a former member of parliament. And he is right now MLA from Shiv. So I welcome all of you in this process of understanding Indian electoral system. I welcome all my panelists here, and we hope we will justify our presence here, and when we go back home from here, we'll take something along with us. We'll take a better understanding about how people vote in India, as the subject says. So I'll start with Mukulika, because she has written a book on why India votes. So let's start, in the first session, let's try to understand why India votes like this. What is so special about Indian election system? Mukulika.
Thank you, Sudhir. Before I begin to answer the question, can I, for those of you who have the vote in India, who are Indian citizens in this room, how many of you voted in the last elections? Can we have a show of hands? I think this is why, thank you very much. And that show of hands just proves how important it is to answer this question. Why do we vote with such enthusiasm in this country? Now, one thing that we have to recognize about Indian elections, which we take completely for granted as citizens of India, are three things. The first thing is the sheer scale of an Indian election. It's when India has a Lok Sabha election, it is the largest.
Okay.
Okay, is this better? I just got to hold my jacket really tight. No?
Yeah.
When we hold a Lok Sabha election in India, is this better? A Lok Sabha election in India is the largest humanly organized event in the world, right? It's got 8 million polling stations, 720 million voters, 2 million election officials. The scale is vast. 543 constituencies is not large. Britain has about the same many constituencies, but we have it for a much, much bigger country. So what an MP does in a parliamentary constituency, the size of an Indian parliamentary constituency, by the way, which Manvendra knows because he campaigned at the last Lok Sabha election, the size of an Indian parliamentary constituency is 20 times the size of an average UK constituency. So what we are expecting, the sheer scale and diversity of this country is extraordinary. And this is something we take completely for granted, especially in our country, where so much goes wrong, as we all know, all the time. We've failed on a number of different indicators of all sorts, and several other panels have been discussing this in so many different ways. But when it comes to organizing an election, we seem to do it right. And we must recognize this. Secondly, there's something extraordinary about the quality of elections. Any of you who are here from the overseas or Indians who've traveled abroad, and if you happen to be in countries which are going to the polls, you'll realize you often can be in countries where there is an election and you wouldn't know as a tourist. Nothing really is very different. It's not a holiday on election day. There's none of the tamjam that we get here, the complete carnival that our Indian elections are. The noise, the sheer noise pollution, visual pollution of, I shouldn't call it pollution. There's a huge carnival, it's a mela, when an election campaign happens. There is something extraordinarily, it's like a festival, right? Third thing is very important, which goes back to the show of hands. When you look at Indian electoral voter turnouts in any election, and the last assembly elections in December, where Manvendra won, you will see the voter turnouts in our elections are extraordinarily high compared to other older, more mature democracies. Now, our national averages are comparable, but when you go down the social hierarchy in India, so when it is more rural, when it's more illiterate, when it is low caste, the voter turnout shoots up. So where I've been doing fieldwork in rural Bengal for the last 15 years, a village I go back to every year, voter turnout is 95%. Everybody votes. This is completely unmatched in large parts of the world. The more local, one final thing, the more local the election, the greater the voter turnout. Women and men vote in equal numbers. Now this is a mystery. So really the title of the book should be, why the hell do we vote?
Yeah, and that's why we are here to understand why India votes. We have Manvendra Singh here. हमारे चारों लोगों में से जो इस वक्त यहाँ पर मौजूद हैं, he is the only one who has fought elections. He is the only one who is actually a politician and he understands why people vote for any particular party, and I will start asking him why people vote for you.
Because I have 2 degrees. I think the decision to vote. Sorry. I think the decision to vote on the ballot on that particular day is really it's a combination of various factors. Colloquially we say, "Oh, hawa chal rahi hai," and but that's just a cover for various things that have happened over a long period of time. Generally, we have probably the highest anti-incumbency rates in the world. I think that's something that I understand from Indian politics.
And that's what we called undercurrent. एक होता है हवा चल रही है, फिर होता है एक undercurrent.
And because we tend to sort of not focus on the undercurrent, the ruling parties get it wrong. Those who focus on it, those who pay attention to it, get the homework correct, they get the vote. This time, on all the 5 states which went to the polls, each one had the highest figures ever. One of the unsaid factors of this high percentage this year, or last year now, is a campaign that was run by the Election Commission. And believe me, every politician in India is scared of the Election Commission. And I'm not praising them for the sake of any brownie points. But the Election Commission ran a campaign encouraging people to vote. You had billboards in small Mufassil towns. You had boards behind rural bus services. You had every district headquarter had a number of boards which encouraged people to vote, and the visuals on the boards were people that you could relate to. They were rural folk. They weren't sort of some Bollywood star asking you to vote. It was connected to that particular segment of society where, as Mukulika just said, has the largest percentage of voters who turn out as highest. So it is a combination. It's not one real factor. I think the single factor election is a thing of the past. Whether it is, Indira Gandhi's assassination, or it is Ram Janmabhoomi, or any of these emotive issues that caught an imagination at one particular time. I think now, because of various feeds of information from social media to conventional media, to just the traditional, the door-to-door campaign. I mean, all of these things combine to make people vote. Why on that particular day for that particular party it's all local. I mean, you vote in a particular direction because the state election is really what determines the national election now. I think 2014 Lok Sabha is going to be an interesting factor, whether the combination of state elections are going to produce a similar result as the past, or is it going to be a real national election as it used to be before the coalition era. I'm looking forward to this one. Yeah,
because 2014 is a real big challenge for everyone who says that I understand Indian voters, I understand Indian system, because it's going to be a real test this time. And let's see what happens. And that's why we are all trying to understand this thing. One thing about Manvendra I would like to share with you. Manvendra has been writing about defense affairs, and me and Manvendra, we had gone to Siachen once together. And Manvendra had done active reporting from Siachen. So he is one person who has actually traveled a lot across India, from Siachen to different places in India to Registan in Rajasthan. But the main question here is that, as we said, what is the picture like? If you vote for Narendra Modi, in commercial terms, if I can say, if you buy Narendra Modi, you get Vasundhara Raje free. You know, it's a combination package. If you buy Rahul Gandhi, you get Ashok Gehlot free. So I'll go to Nilanjan about it, because Nilanjan has written a book on Narendra Modi. And before coming to this session, I read that book. एंड नीलांजन, आप नरेंद्र मोदी से बहुत ज़्यादा प्रभावित नहीं लगे उस बुक में, लेकिन आप प्रभावित नहीं हैं, और जो देश का जो पढ़ा लिखा समाज है वो काफ़ी टीका टिप्पणी करता है नरेंद्र मोदी के ऊपर, लेकिन नरेंद्र मोदी फिर भी हर साल चुनाव जीतते हैं, 3 बार से मुख्यमंत्री हैं, और फिर भी इस देश के प्रधानमंत्री पद के उम्मीदवारों में से एक हैं, ऐसा क्यों?
मेरे ख्याल से ये गलत होगा कहना। Am I loud and clear? मेरे ख्याल से ये कहना गलत होगा कि मैं नरेंद्र मोदी से प्रभावित नहीं हूँ। मैं उनसे बहुत प्रभावित हूँ कुछ चीज़ों में। मैंने अपनी किताब में लिखा है कि शायद आज हिंदुस्तान में वो सबसे अव्वल एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर्स में से एक माने जा सकते हैं। मेरे जो प्रॉब्लम्स हैं उनके पॉलिटिकल आइडियोलॉजी को लेके हैं। आई फील दैट नरेंद्र मोदी, द पॉलिटिक्स दैट ही परस्यूज, द पॉलिटिक्स ऑफ प्रेजुडिस, दैट इज द वे आई एक्चुअली टर्म इट, इज समथिंग जिसके साथ मेरे को थोड़ी परेशानी है। मैं उस राजनीति से एग्री नहीं कर पाता हूँ अपने आप को। मुझे लगता है कि थोड़ी सी राजनीति और इंक्लूसिव होनी चाहिए। नरेंद्र मोदी फिर भी चुनाव जीतते हैं। नरेंद्र मोदी फिर भी चुनाव जीतते हैं, और इसके लिए मैं पूरी तरह से हिंदुस्तान के इलेक्टोरेट को सपोर्ट करता हूँ। उनका फैसला है, उस फैसले से हो सकता है कि हम एग्री नहीं करें, लेकिन डेमोक्रेसी का ये एक ब्यूटी है कि दो अलग अलग तरह से सोचने वाले इंसान भी साथ बैठ के बात कर सकते हैं। अनफॉर्चुनेटली मुझे लगता है कि शायद हम लोग इस दिशा में बढ़ रहे हैं कि ये जो डेमोक्रेसी की जो स्पिरिट थी हमारे हिंदुस्तान में, ये शायद खत्म होती जा रही है या ये थ्रेट में है। थोड़ा सा नरेंद्र मोदी से हटके एक पुरानी चीज को जो मेन जो टॉपिक हम डिस्कस करें कि व्हाई इंडिया वोट्स। इन 1999 the parliamentary elections were held just a few months after the Cricket World Cup in England. At that point, the television channel which used to telecast the World Cup ran a promo, the last line of which was, "There is nothing as bigger as the World Cup." 3 months later, I used to work for a television channel which was reporting on elections and was supposed to come out with the verdict on the counting day. We created a promo and I floated this idea which got accepted. This is even bigger than the World Cup. Truly, 2014 is going to be all about elections. It has already started, the countdown has already started. We are possibly just about 100 days away from when it really starts boiling out. Journalists like Sudhir and I will be possibly out in the fields. Manvendra will be out campaigning in the deserts of Rajasthan. The people, the voters, why India votes. Having looked at elections as a reporter for more than a quarter of a century, I can broadly feel that there are 3 types of voters. One, who decide very early who they are going to vote for. Second, you have those voters who midway through the campaign. The third set of voters are who decide at the last moment. Peculiarly, काफ़ी समय से कहा जाता है कि हिंदुस्तान में वोट खरीदने की प्रथा रही है। मुझे नहीं लगता कि हम लोग हिंदुस्तान की जो जनता है उसको हम लोग इतना तुच्छ बना दें कि वो कुछ चंद रुपए या जो मोस्ट कॉमन तरीका है ब्राइब करने का कि एक शराब की बोतल दे के उसका वोट खरीदा जा सकता है।
एक कंबल, एक शराब की बोतल और 1000 रुपए का नोट। This is
मतलब
commonly said.
That's commonly said.
The previous night.
ये वोटर जो है हमको मतलब एज अ जर्नलिस्ट अनुभव है कि लोग शराब की बोतल भी ले लेते हैं, नोट भी ले लेते हैं, वोट जिसको मर्जी है उसको जाके देते हैं। I think this is where we must respect the political instinct of the Indian voter. I do not think, as far as my politics is concerned, my political understanding, in my living memory, Indian voter has ever made a wrong political choice overall. If in 2009 the UPA had probably to be given a second tenure, it was possibly right, and they voted overwhelmingly, beating all the predictions, all the assessments and surveys which had been done before.
Yeah.
2004, dramatic. Sudhir, we all had eggs on our faces when the results started coming out. No one expected that the NDA to lose, but dramatic because they felt that this government needed to be taught a political lesson.
यानी नीलांजन, भारत का जो वोटर है वो हमेशा हैरान करता है, देश को हैरान करता है, नेताओं को भी हैरान करता है और हैरान करना भी चाहिए। यही ब्यूटी है हमारे सिस्टम की।
2014 में भी करेगा
और 2014 में भी हो सकता है कि वोटर सबको हैरान कर दे। हम आगे बढ़ते हैं। 2014 की हमने बात की, उससे पहले कुछ समझना जरूरी है 2014 के लिए। कुछ एक खास यूनिक पॉइंट्स हैं ये 2014 के, जो मैं कुछ आंकड़े आपके सामने रखता हूं। खास बात यह है कि इस साल 12 करोड़ नए वोटर्स वोट डालेंगे और ये सारे नए लोग हैं, युवा हैं जो पहली बार वोट डाल रहे हैं। सबसे बड़ी बात यह है कि ये 12 करोड़ लोग ये किसको वोट देने वाले हैं? ये 12 करोड़ लोग क्या सोचते हैं? नरेंद्र मोदी के बारे में क्या सोचते हैं? राहुल गांधी के बारे में क्या सोचते हैं? अपने लोकल इश्यूज के बारे में क्या सोचते हैं? इनकी सोच क्या है? और किसी भी नेता के लिए सबसे बड़ी चुनौती यही है कि ये 12 करोड़ लोगों के दिमाग को वो अगर डिकोड कर सके, जानना जरूरी है। यहाँ एक और 2009 की बात की, जो पिछला लोकसभा चुनाव था, कांग्रेस को 11 करोड़ और 90 लाख वोट मिले थे देश भर में, बीजेपी को 7 करोड़ 80 लाख वोट मिले थे और बीएसपी को 2 करोड़ और 60 लाख वोट मिले थे। यानी आप अंदाजा लगाइए कि 2009 में अगर कांग्रेस को करीब करीब 12 करोड़ वोट मिल रहे हैं और उसकी वजह से कांग्रेस सत्ता में आ गई, और इधर लगभग उतने ही 12 करोड़ नए वोटर्स इस बार ऐड हो रहे हैं, जुड़ रहे हैं, तो ये एक बहुत बड़ा एक डिफरेंशिएटर रहने वाला है। मानवेंद्र से हम पूछते हैं, मानवेंद्र, जब आप लोग अपनी रणनीति बनाते हैं चुनाव की, क्या इस चीज़ को आप कंसीडर करते हैं कि अपने वॉर रूम में कि इतने सारे जो लोग हैं, ये जो 12 करोड़ लोग हैं, ये इनकी सोच क्या है, इनकी पसंद नापसंद क्या है और इनको आप कैसे कैप्चर करेंगे? ये लोग बीजेपी को वोट क्यों करें या कांग्रेस को क्यों नहीं करें?
देखिए, एक बात स्पष्ट है कि जो 12 करोड़ नए मतदाता हैं, ये भी क्लियर नहीं है कि ये 12 करोड़ एक ही सोच के हैं। हर मतदाता का सोच, विचार और उस दिन का मूड किसी को पता नहीं है। उस दिन मौसम कैसा होगा? मेरे लोकसभा चुनाव में गर्मी में होते हैं और मुझे सबसे बड़ा भय उस समय ये होता है कि हमारे यहाँ आंधी नहीं आ जाए। अगर आंधी आएगी, धूल उड़ेगी तो वोटिंग कम होगी, वोटिंग कम होगी तो हमें नुकसान होगा। तो ये सब फैक्टर्स काम आते हैं। और ये 12 करोड़ की जो संख्या आप बता रहे हैं नए मतदाता की, इनको एक इस रूम में थोड़ी है कि आप सबको डिकोड कर सकते हैं। वो हर भारत के हर क्षेत्र में है, हर प्रांत में है, जिले में है, तहसील में है, और कौन कहाँ जुड़ा है वो प्रक्रिया अभी भी चल रही है। और हर राजनीतिक दल करते हैं। हम अभी तो हमारा अभियान बहुत तेज़ी से चल रहा है कि जो नए वोटर हैं हम उनका नाम जोड़ें, और क्योंकि हमें उम्मीद है कि हमारे पक्ष के जो मतदाता हैं, जो युवा हमारे साथ, जिनको उम्मीद है हमारे साथ जोड़ने की, उनके अगर वोटिंग लिस्ट में अगर नाम नहीं हो तो वो नुकसान हमें ही है। सो वी ट्राई एंड इंक्लूड एज मेनी votes or names in the voters list as it is possible, and in the hope and belief that our votes are not left behind for any administrative reason, and we believe that at least that segment is something that we can be sure of. But out of the 12 crores, there's no guarantee that all of it is something, all of it is it's possible to influence all of them.
But are you sure that now issues like Ram Mandir, they will not work with the youth?
Sudhir, I'm sorry, you're moderating the discussion. Can we have a discussion about why people actually turn up to vote rather than who they're going to vote for? Because we're going to get 6 months of this. Thank you.
All right. Actually, I was trying to, fish out for
Thank you, Mukulika.
I know. For the next 4 months, this is all we are going to hear until May. So let's have a slightly different discussion about the kind of people in this room, the kind of people who are going to vote.
Mukulika, right, point taken. Okay, I will just shift the discussion to what Mukulika is saying. I have a survey with me. It's a Google survey which says that almost 4 out of 10 urban voters or 37% Indian voters are online. And जब उनके बारे में पूछा गया कि वो क्या पसंद करते हैं, तो वो क्यों वोट डालेंगे, कंसिडरेशंस क्या हैं, तो उनमें से 36% people said that their first consideration is the political party, followed by candidates, 35%, and party leadership coming at the third place, that is 17%. And surprisingly, only 11% people said that they would vote for a party based on its prime ministerial candidate. सिर्फ 11% लोग ऐसे थे जो ये कह रहे थे कि प्रधानमंत्री कौन बनेगा उसके आधार पर हम वोट डालेंगे. मुकुलिका, कमिंग बैक टू योर सजेशन,
Thank you.
एक वोटर जो है वो क्या सोच के मुख्यमंत्री कौन बनेगा ये सोच के वोट डालेगा, प्रधानमंत्री कौन बनेगा ये सोच के वोट डालेगा, मेरे घर में बिजली पानी कैसे आएगी ये सोच के वोट डालेगा, या मुझे घर में बैठ के बिना काम किए जो पार्टी पैसा देगी ये सोच के वोट डालेगा.
देखिए, वोट किसको डालेंगे और वोट डालेंगे या नहीं,
मतलब क्यों डालें?
क्यों डालें वोट, ये सवाल है. इस सवाल को की हम डिस्कशन कर रहे हैं यहाँ पे. Who we are going to vote for is of course linked to whether we will be bothered to turn up and vote. If you really want to support somebody, you're likely to show up at the polling station more readily. But there are a number of other factors that go into this. Now we talk about online, whether people are online or not. Let me at the outset say that there have been various experiments, and one of the things that Indian voters have proved, and this is research, everything I say, by the way, none of these are my opinions. This is backed by evidence. We have evidence from all India ethnographic qualitative work in 12 different sites across India, across regions, languages, etc. So please take everything I say backed by evidence, and all the evidence is in the book. Now what we put in the cover, on the cover, can you see it on the screens? What is it? It's a picture of a man holding up his inked finger. Now the peer pressure that an inked finger causes is enormous, especially wherever there are small knit communities. So by about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, if you don't have an ink mark on your finger, which every Indian voter gets when they cast their vote, people start asking questions. Dalani, have you not voted? Why haven't you gone? Are you ill? Do you need a lift? कोई काम घर में काम है, मैं कर देती हूँ, आप जाइए. This is endless. Now, गाँव में मैं रही हूँ. It is so oppressive, these number of questions, it's easier to go and vote. And people are interfering. You know what we are like. We ask each other questions about the most personal things. So this is not personal, it's public, it's there, it's in the public view. So it's a very interesting innovation in Indian elections that really has an enormous effect on voter turnout. So peer pressure is big. The 2 and 3 other kinds of reasons. One is clustered around the questions that Sudhir was asking. Who you are supporting is marked by loyalty to a party. It could be just instrumental reason. Ex-MLA, ex-MP got my work done the last time. मैंने सिफारिश दी, उन्होंने करवा दिया काम, I owe him a vote now. I go it. It's just naked instrumentality. He got us a primary school. We must give him a vote. But there's a third reason around it, which we found in Chhattisgarh, a number of places, where people, we call it the protest vote, where you want to punish your own party for having neglected you, or you want to punish a particular candidate. And so you're going out to vote not because you know the vote that you cast is going to make somebody win, but you're going to make them lose. So you're going to, even though you think that party is you have loyalty to a party, you vote for a rival party just to teach your own party a lesson. This happens a lot. The second cluster of reasons is around the idea of citizenship. Now, the fact that people say routinely in various Indian languages across the country, this notion of ek din ka sultan. People say, hum ek din ka sultan to bane, ek din ke liye to sultan bane. The fact that on that one day, on election day, your vote counts the same as anybody else in the country, including the President of India, actually matters a lot. And the reason why, if you're at the bottom of the heap, if you're at the bottom of the social hierarchy, the fact that on that one day, you're counted by no other indicators, apart from the fact that you're a registered citizen, counts for an enormous amount. The fact that when you go to a polling station, officials treat you with respect. Nobody standing in the line can say, इनके पास नहीं खड़े होंगे, या ये औरत है, इनको कहीं और भेज दीजिए.
मुकुलिका, I'll interrupt you. आपकी जब मैं बुक पढ़ रहा था, उसमें कुछ मुकुलिका ने जो बुक लिखी है, किताब लिखी है, उसमें एक अच्छी चीज़ है कि हर चैप्टर के बाद में एक अलग सेगमेंट है जिसमें वो ये बता रही हैं कि ये आदमी ने या ये औरत ने वोट क्यों दिया, व्हाट वर द रीजंस एंड फैक्टर्स। उसमें एक पान वाला भी है, उसमें एक रुक्मिणी बाई भी है जो कि डेली वेजेस पर काम करती है। ये जो पान वाला है, जो रुक्मिणी बाई है, और लाखों ऐसे लोग हैं, इन्होंने अलग अलग तरीके बताए और वजहें बताई कि मैंने इसलिए वोट किया
जी।
बाद में 5 साल में क्या हमको एक फॉलोअप करना चाहिए ये जानने के लिए कि वो जो कारण से उसने वोट किया वो उसका कारण पूरा हुआ या नहीं हुआ, और अगले साल, अगले 5 साल के बाद वो क्या करेगी।
देखिए 5 साल बाद हमको वापस जाने की ज़रूरत ही नहीं है। We know the person we are talking to has voted in the previous election. So we know that they voted in the last election, and Rukmini Bai continues to earn 15 rupees a day, right? Nothing has changed in her life. That is why it is a mystery. If nothing is getting better, why is she going? So she is voting in hope that things will get better. And of course, that's what I'm calling instrumentality. You're trying to get something in exchange for your vote. But there is also the reason that we don't normally understand, which is that the act of voting itself is terribly meaningful for a large number of Indians itself, right? So they're saying the fact that I can go and vote and be recognized as equal, after all, democracy has a vision of political equality which is completely hidden and invisible in everyday life in India. But on that one day, there is a glimpse of that equality, and that people want to value.
Okay, मैं नीलांजन के जी मानवेंद्र।
I have a great anecdote to that which I want to share, and I'm sharing it in public for the first time. After becoming MP, we went in a delegation to the US, and we were in the Pentagon with somebody who became very infamous later, so should remain nameless. And where I sat across the table from him, he said at the beginning of the conversation, he said, you know, where you're sitting 3 months ago, there was a serving lieutenant general from the Pakistan Army sitting where you are. And he asked me a question which I never was able to answer. And the question was, he asked this American official, why is it that India has not produced a suicide bomber? And the American had no answer, the official, the Pentagon official. And the Lieutenant General of the Pakistan Army answered the question for him by saying that because every 5 years the Indian Muslim knows he can change his government. And I didn't share this in public because I thought, kahan pata nahi nazar lag jaye Bharat ko ya apne samaj ko, whatever. And it remained true until some geezer went and tried to blow up the Glasgow or the Edinburgh airport, who had some Indian origin. But this is the root of the thing which Mukulika is talking about. You have a hope. You know that on that particular day you are, as she said, the Sultan. And it's within your power as a collective citizenry to unseat or make a new ruler.
या नीलांजन के पास हम लोग चलते हैं। उससे पहले नीलांजन मैं आपको कुछ बताना चाहता हूँ, वो ये कि भारत में 72 करोड़ वोटर्स हैं, 72 करोड़। और उसमें से आप सोचिए, ये इलेक्शन कमीशन के आंकड़े जो मैं आपको दे रहा हूँ, 22 करोड़ के करीब जो है वो अर्बन, ये ऑनलाइन है, और अर्बन वोटर्स जो हैं उसमें 9 करोड़ की संख्या है। यानी अर्बन और रूरल का अगर हम डिवाइड देखें, क्या शहर में रहने वाला वोटर और गांव में, ये तो जो हमने बात की है वो आदमी है जो कि एक दिन का सुल्तान बन के खुश है, लेकिन जो शहर का आदमी है वो क्यों वोट करता है? क्योंकि वो पढ़ा लिखा है, वो टीवी देखता है, वो ऑनलाइन है, वो किताबें पढ़ता है, एंड ही हैज कंप्लीट एक्सेस टू द आउटर वर्ल्ड।
The issue is that the urban voter votes just for the same factors as the rural voter votes. What you are listing, Sudhir, basically enables him to reach his political choice by a different route and not the route which the rural voter goes. The rural voter is not to be undervalued or devalued because the rural voter has not yet been given access to the internet, to mobile telephony, to various other new forms of information. The rural voter cannot be said, that you are dumb. They are the ones who actually lead every verdict in India. If you actually look at past records, look at the way turnouts have figured. You have had a constant surge of turnout increasing even in rural areas. The number of women participation, considered to be, the silent majority of this, not majorities, unfortunately, numbers are declining. The huge silent numbers of women in this country, the political aspiration is always reflected in the choice that they make in election after election.
लेकिन एक बड़ा सवाल यहाँ पर यह है कि हम एक दिन का सुल्तान हम बात करें, वो एक दिन का सुल्तान हम 72 करोड़ लोगों को बना देते हैं, मान लीजिए, और एक दिन के लिए वो बहुत खुश हो जाते हैं. इट्स अ मैटर ऑफ प्राइड दैट आई हैव वोटेड. लेकिन इसके बारे में क्या कि अगर मैं उनको पूरे 5 साल का सुल्तान बनाना चाहूँ, पूरे 5 साल वो ये तय कर पाए, वो एक फॉलोअप कर पाए, वो ये देख पाए कि मैंने जो मेरा वोट दिया है वो वोट मेरा बर्बाद तो नहीं हो गया है. यानी हम कहते हैं कि ये उत्सव है, एक बहुत बड़ा फेस्टिवल है, फेस्टिवल ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी, जनतंत्र का सबसे बड़ा उत्सव दुनिया का. लेकिन उत्सव दिवाली की तरह होता है. दिवाली में आपने पटाखे चलाए और उसके बाद 1 साल तक आप भूल गए और उसके बाद अगले दिन फिर दिवाली आएगी.
ये बात आप जो बोले ये शायद पहले होता था. मानवेंद्र है हमारे साथ, वो बताएंगे कि आजकल के जो द लेजिस्लेटर्स एंड द पार्लियामेंटेरियंस, दे हैव टू वर्क मच हार्डर than what they had to do earlier. Previously, a member of parliament or a legislator could go to the voter, seek the vote after getting elected, could have disappeared for 5 years. But on an average today, talking to a large number of parliamentarians or legislators, one gets a feeling that the pressure is on the elected leaders. They have
मानवेंद्र से पूछते हैं,
to go.
मानवेंद्र आप इतने साल से राजनीति में हैं, क्या आपको ऐसा लगता है कि
let me just say, several MPs say that we are there in the constituency half the time because in case of a death of a family, you have to go and actually visit the area. Otherwise, the entire locality will say that our leader never came. If there's a marriage, they have to go. So there is far greater interaction between the elected leader and the people, which was not there previously. And I think this is what adds to the pressure on the elected leader. Manvendra can possibly build on this.
क्या pressure?
Yesterday, there was a session where we were at, and after the session, when I switched on my phone, I got calls from the same number constantly, and the chap kept calling me, getting progressively more and more drunk. And finally, his complaint was that his sarpanch had beaten him up, and I was not doing anything to help him. And I kept assuring him that I've told the police. His final call to me was, he said, I've climbed a tree and I'm going to die if you don't send the police. Of course, he didn't, he may have climbed the tree, he was dead drunk. And there wasn't such a squabble, I found out from the village. But these are the kind of things which happen on a daily basis. You are, from morning till night, you are, and this thing about online, urban, rural, 80% of my WhatsApp messages come from villages. India is more connected than you can even imagine. And this whole social media thing is so huge. And it's more vibrant in the villages only because it's something that's so new to them. It's been denied to them because of lack of telephony and lack of, bandwidth. But now that it's available in the village, people are at it all the time.
सबके पास स्मार्टफोन्स हैं. हम मुकुलिका के पास हम आएंगे, उससे पहले मुकुलिका, I just want everyone to have a look at these figures. जो हमारी 543 लोकसभा सीट्स हैं, एक सर्वे है जो ये कहता है कि 160 सीटें ऐसी हैं जहां पर सोशल मीडिया का असर पड़ सकता है. और कुछ लोगों का ये भी कहना है कि जो इंटरनेट वोटर्स हैं वो 3 से 4% का वोट स्विंग कर सकते हैं. और जो अगर हम आंकड़े देखें तो 12.5 करोड़ भारतीय ऐसे हैं जो हर दिन इंटरनेट पर ऑनलाइन होते हैं, और इनमें से 4 करोड़ लोग ऐसे हैं जो कि ब्रॉडबैंड पर हैं. और अपने देश में हम जहां मानवेंद्र की बात कर रहे थे, हम इंटरनेट के करीब 14 करोड़ यूजर्स हैं, जिसमें से 7 करोड़ फेसबुक पर हैं और 2 करोड़ ट्विटर पर हैं.
Just for those of you, we have a lot of international guests here, I'm very aware of that. Basically, Sudhir, as you know from words like Facebook and Twitter, that we're talking about the online presence in India, that there are large numbers of people online in India. And I think, what this raises is a very interesting issue which is unfolding in front of our eyes in the last couple of months and is going to set the terms of debate from the looks of it in the next 4 months up to the elections, which is this shift, perhaps, from representative democracy as we know it to a more participatory form. What this says about your WhatsApp messages, about the phone calls, about the Facebook and Twitter, is that people want a much greater stake in the period in between elections, right? So the Ek Din Ka Sultan, let me clarify, is not a sop. It's not what people are happy with and you can sort of, you know, give it to them as a lollipop once every 5 years and they go away and not complain. It's not that simple. People are furious at the lack of performance of governments, and that's why they show up. That's one of the very important reasons. But what increasingly people are finding through various networking tools is that they want to have a larger say. Now, the interesting thing that has happened in the last elections and what happened in Delhi is the fact that large numbers of people don't just want to remain Ek Din Ka Sultan, they want the Aam Aadmi to, like you were saying, to be part of the political discussions. So how this experiment will actually work, where you start consulting the Aam Aadmi to make decisions, is what is going to mark the shift to participatory democracy.
Mukulika, last 5 minutes, this is the last round we have now. And let's talk about the future path. Let's talk about the solutions. I will start with Nilanjan. आप मुझे बताइए, वोटर्स आ गए, वोटर्स ने वोट डाल दिया, अब इसके बाद व्हाट इज द नेक्स्ट स्टेज? बीजेपी, कांग्रेस या हमारे जो ट्रेडिशनल पार्टियां हैं, जिस तरीके की वो राजनीति करें, उनको अब चेंज होने की जरूरत है, वोटर को ज्यादा अकाउंटेबल होने की जरूरत है ताकि वोटर एक फॉलो अप करेगा, या फिर एक नया मॉडल जो आया है आम आदमी पार्टी का मॉडल, ये मॉडल हमारे लिए सही है? क्योंकि आम आदमी का पार्टी का मॉडल जो मानवेंद्र अभी कह रहे थे, इनके पास अब ऑलरेडी वो मैसेजेस आने शुरू हो गए हैं और उसमें वोटर इतना डिमांडिंग हो गया है, और जो आपका प्रतिनिधि है वो भी ऐसा है, वो भी बिल्कुल आपके बीच में बैठा हुआ है.
You know, over time, there is going to be much greater scrutiny of the elected representative and the government. That is going to be a greater demand because the avenues of registering the protest is only going to keep on increasing. Previously, you could protest only by taking to the streets. But now, as India becomes more technologically advanced, you have newer forms of coming in, showing your resentment. Because of this, it was going to add to a huge pressure which is already there on the elected representatives to be able to perform, to be able to fulfill the aspirations and to deliver those promises on the basis of which the people have made their choices and elected them. So the pressure definitely is going to be on elected.
So pressure is building up. एक मुकुलिका से सवाल मेरा ये है, मुकुलिका, आम आदमी नेता बन जाए और नेता आम आदमी बन जाए, क्या ये सॉल्यूशन है? जैसे कि अभी हम देख रहे हैं, नेता जो है आम आदमी की तरह हो गए हैं, आम आदमी नेता बनता जा रहा है, पार्टियां एनजीओ बन गई हैं और एनजीओ पार्टियां बन गई हैं.
It's not quite so radical. I think if it's a choice between where we are going, ये तीन चीज़ें ये जो आपने options रखी, I think at the end of the day, it's at the heart of this recognition of why it is important to remain democratic is an idea of equality. And at the heart of that idea of equality is an idea of universal citizenship. Right? When people talk about citizenship, they talk about their duty to vote and how by fulfilling this duty, they're exercising their fundamental right to vote. ये मौलिक अधिकार है. You know, as this Dalit woman said to me in Chhattisgarh, वोट नहीं डालूंगी तो और क्या मांगूंगी? पहले वोट तो डालूं. That's the way people talk about it. So if any party that is able to recognize that every citizen has a stake in what happens in political governance, that is the party that's going to take the Aam Aadmi with them.
Okay. Manvendra. Manvendra के पास आएंगे because Manvendra is into politics now. एक और बड़ा सवाल ये है कि हमारे जो वोटर्स हैं वो अपने नेता पर भरोसा कितना करते हैं, नेता हमारे भरोसेमंद कितने हैं. और 148 देशों में एक सर्वे हुआ था, वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमिक फोरम ने सर्वे करवाया था. इस लिस्ट में भारत का जो नंबर था वो 115वां नंबर था नेताओं पे भरोसा करने के मामले को लेकर. और एक और खास बात, इस इंडेक्स में पाकिस्तान हमसे आगे था, हमारा नंबर 115 था, पाकिस्तान का 110 था. But it's a survey.
Yeah, and it's a survey by World Economic Forum, whom I really don't know much about. And like all surveys, you know, it can have its flaws, and I would believe it has flaws. The politician reflects society. The politician is not from Mars, is not from a different country, not from a different planet. And how society evolves, the politics of the country evolves, and the politician also evolves. When I first came to politics, the first campaign that I ran, every village meeting ended up with petitions from the voters, from the people, saying that, you know, school here, a water well here, a health building here. And I saw this trend all through until this election, the last assembly election a month ago, where 95% of the meetings or 95% of the villages I went to did not ask for a single thing. They said, "Pehle hum vote denge, fir aapse mangenge." This is the first election I participated in where it was said that first we have to vote and then we will ask you for the work. आज आपका दिन नहीं, आज हमारा दिन है. जब आपका समय आएगा हम आपसे मांगेंगे.
Okay, so I think our time is over as the organizers are. Okay, questions?
Okay.
We have 15 minutes.
Yeah. We have a mic? Okay. That person, yeah. Ji.
15 minutes है. 15 minutes for question.
Now, my name is Bakchan Soni. I'm General Secretary, RTI Association of India. Now, I ask question कि हमारा देश का नागरिक जो गाड़ियाँ लुहार होता है और महाराणा प्रताप की जो सेना कहलाती है और उनको आज तक वोटर आईडी कार्ड नहीं मिला और वोटिंग देने का अधिकार भी नहीं मिला. दे आर इंडियन सिटीजन. वो लोग घूमते रहते हैं. गाड़ी के अंदर एक लकड़ी की गाड़ी होती है और उस गाड़ी के अंदर वो पूरे राजस्थान के अंदर घूमते रहते हैं.
ओके.
हैं नंबर. अच्छा, सेकंड पॉइंट ये है मेरा कि मतलब हमारा जो पब्लिक का पैसा होता है, जनता का पैसा होता है और उस पैसे से चुनाव कराए जाते हैं. क्योंकि जो पब्लिक मनी जो पैसा खर्च करती है, तो क्यों नहीं जो राजनीतिक पार्टियां होती है उनसे भी हमें सूचना के अधिकार के तहत सूचना लेने का अधिकार मिलना चाहिए.
अच्छा. We will respond to the second question because none of us can do anything about the first question which you said. We can only raise this issue to the competent authorities. Sir, second question पे आप respond करना चाहेंगे?
Sure, I have no problem. I think all political parties should come under RTI. It's not anything to debate about.
लेकिन इसमें मैं एक चीज जोड़ना चाहता हूँ. आप जो पैसा देते हैं टैक्स के तौर पर, वो सरकार के पास जाता है, किसी पॉलिटिकल पार्टी के पास नहीं जाता. और जितनी योजनाएं जो चलाई जाती हैं वो सरकार चलाती है और सरकार से आप RTI से जानकारी ले सकते हैं.
राष्ट्रीय नेता डॉट पैदा कर दिया. तो आज जब हम पढ़े लिखे लोग हैं तो थोड़ा डरने लगे, क्योंकि भारत के प्रियम्बल में भी ये कहा गया है कि इंडिया इज ए सेक्युलर नेशन. पर आज लगता नहीं एक ऐसा नेता पैदा होने लगे हैं जिसे देश सेक्युलर नेशन को खतरा हो रहा है. जो नेता जैसे गोधरा कांड हुआ,
समझ गए.
एक ऐसे नेता पैदा.
We like to take more and more questions, so we'll be short.
मेरे ख्याल से नेता कोई भी पैदा होता है, अल्टीमेटली वोटर तय करता है कि वो नेता हिंदुस्तान का प्रधानमंत्री बनेगा, मुख्यमंत्री बनेगा. बाबरी मस्जिद के बाद डेफिनेटली कोई पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज उभर के आए, कोई लीडर्स उभर के आए. भारतीय जनता पार्टी का जो सारा जो उदय हुआ उसमें बहुत हद तक अयोध्या आंदोलन का हाथ का फैक्टर था. और अगर इंडियन वोटर इफ दे डिसाइड ऑन अ पॉलिटिकल चॉइस, we as a community can disagree, but we cannot deny them the right to make that choice if they think it is correct.
Okay, sir.
बात शुरू होते ही मानवेंद्र जी ने कहा कि इलेक्शन कमीशन की सराहना करते हुए कि ये सारा जो था इलेक्शन कमीशन को बहुत बड़ा क्रेडिट जाता है. हवा भी चली. सुधीर ने कहा कि अंडरकरंट था. ये अंडरकरंट ही है जिसको हम समझ नहीं पाते हैं और ठीक से समझने की कोशिश नहीं की. मैं इसका एक बहुत बड़ा उदाहरण देना चाहता हूँ. इमरजेंसी की बात में जो एक सीन बना पूरे चुनाव का, लोकसभा का, विधानसभा का, उसके अंदर एक छोटा, उसको छोटा कहिए या बड़ा कहिए, अंडरकरंट था फैमिली प्लानिंग. इसके अलावा कोई इश्यू नहीं था. और अगर वो नहीं होता तो हमने देखा है कि उसके बाद में भी किस तरह से.
What is the question?
क्वेश्चन मेरा ये है कि मैं आप जो वोट जो मतदाता है जिसको आपने जो है बहुत बड़ी परसेंटेज के अंदर रखा है, उसको प्रभावित क्यों नहीं किया जा रहा है? क्यों और वो जो है क्यों इस तरह के छोटे छोटे इश्यू पे ही वो अपना जो है मत बनाता है, जबकि हमारे सामने समस्याएं बहुत ज़बरदस्त हैं. यानी फर्स्ट क्लास समस्या होने के बावजूद भी समाधान जो आते हैं हमारे पास से वो आते हैं थर्ड क्लास. ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है? वो केवल इसलिए हो रहा है कि जो मतदाता की जो शिक्षा जो होनी चाहिए उस शिक्षा के अंदर जो है आप लोगों का रोल नहीं। मैं एक आखिरी बात भी बता देना चाहता हूँ। देखिए मानवेंद्र जी यहाँ आए हैं बाड़मेर की धोती पहने हुए, बाड़मेर का साफा बांधे हुए।
सर अपने पास टाइम कम है। या इट वाज अ स्टेटमेंट, आई विल नॉट टेक इट एज अ क्वेश्चन। हमने या यू डन। उसके बाद हम जल्दी जल्दी लोगों के पास आएंगे। या क्रिस।
नमस्कार। मैं भारत के वोटिंग सिस्टम और भारत की विविधता के रिलेशन के बारे में आपसे थोड़ा जानना चाहूँगी। सिर्फ धार्मिक ही नहीं, बहुत तरह की भाषाई, सांस्कृतिक, धार्मिक और बहुत तरह की जो विविधताएं हैं, जैसे मेरी जनरेशन ऑनलाइन सारी सोशल साइट्स वगैरह से जो चीज़ें जान पाते हैं, नरेंद्र मोदी के भाषण का आनंद उठा पाते हैं, कुमार विश्वास की कविताएं समझ पाते हैं, तो उन क्षेत्रों का क्या जो उन हिंदी में हो रही बातों को या सिर्फ अंग्रेज़ी में हो रही बातों को उस तरीके से नहीं समझ पाते जितना मेजॉरिटी पार्ट इंडिया का समझ पाता है, वो विविधता कैसे चैलेंज करती है, कैसे उसको कवर किया जाता है और कैसे रिजल्ट्स उससे पाए जाते हैं? थैंक यू।
ओके, आई थिंक जो आप बात कर रही हैं वो आप ये जो भाषणों की बात कर रही हैं ये आपको मीडिया के जरिए मिलता है, न्यूज़पेपर के जरिए मिलता है, टीवी के जरिए मिलता है, ऑनलाइन के जरिए मिलता है। टेलीविजन में हर क्षेत्र में रीजनल चैनल्स हैं, हर क्षेत्र में रीजनल भाषा के न्यूज़पेपर्स हैं, हर क्षेत्र में आपको ऑनलाइन में भी अगर आप जाएंगे तो रीजनल भाषा में सारे उनके विकल्प मौजूद हैं।
मानवेंद्र जी हिंदी में भाषण नहीं देते हैं, राजस्थानी में देते हैं।
मैं 95% मेरे भाषण राजस्थानी में होते हैं।
या मैम, या
You have said that people go and vote because there is peer pressure or because they want to become sultans for one day. I want to know what research indicates because we did a little survey where 90% of the people in Assam said they voted because they thought it was their duty to vote. It's very important for us to know how many people in India vote because they think it is their responsibility and duty to vote, because that will tell us how many people want to preserve democracy in our country.
Okay.
The number of people, you see, what you've got to understand is that every voter's motivation. Can we have a little bit of order in here, please? It's only polite. Thank you. The motivation of a voter is a bundle of motivations. Almost all the factors that I talked about, peer pressure, duty, protest vote, often come together. And this is qualitative work that really gets to understand what people are thinking, as opposed to just asking them questions in a survey. So you can say a large majority of the people we spoke to, a large majority of the people who turn up to vote, vote out of a sense of duty as much as a number of other factors.
Okay, yeah.
बढ़ना चाहिए। आखिर नेताओं का भरोसा क्यों नहीं है पब्लिक में? मैंने देखा है चुनाव के समय जो चुनाव आयोग होता है वो अलग अलग पड़ जाता है, आप लोग आपसी मुद्दों में उलझ जाते हैं। पॉलिटिकल पार्टियां चुनाव के समय क्यों अपील नहीं करती?
Okay, yeah. Okay. We'll grab 2-3 questions. Yeah.
One angle I think we have missed out here is that Supreme Court rolled out this judgment regarding nota. Because there's a section of voters like me who vote only out of responsibility and who vote thinking that it's better to vote for the bad rather than the worse. So, do you think that this nota implementation will have any impact in the 2014?
Sir, you would like
It's
to
already
respond?
had an impact on the Delhi elections, as you know. People have won and lost election. They've won by margins which is smaller than the number of votes given to
But
nota.
नोटा आई थिंक अभी शहरों में देखने को मिल रहा है, गाँव में अभी तक नोटा नहीं पहुंचा है। गाँव में नोटा को लेकर अवेयरनेस बढ़ाने
पहुंचेगा
की
2014, it's going to be there.
जरूरत है।
हर मशीन में नोटा है।
Yeah.
But it depends. I mean, the variation is from the region to region. I mean, some people have that cynicism, some people don't have the cynicism.
Yeah,
And that's
sir.
that's not controllable.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Ms. Banerjee, you said that peer pressure is one of the factors which are very important in getting people to come out and vote.
Sorry, I didn't understand that at all.
Peer pressure is one of the factors, a major factor in getting people to come out and vote. I don't think it applies so much to the urban areas. I've been working 15 years in trying to get the vote out without any political affiliations and get people registered. It's not peer pressure, it works. If it would, the density in the cities is very high, the peer pressure would be even more so. But it doesn't seem to work at all.
No, you're quite right. Where there is a sense of community is what I said. So it's not on density, it's where you are bothered about what your neighbor will say to you that it would matter. The urban voting figures are very interesting. They've been steadily rising. So, you know, 2 elections ago, there was a much larger gap of about 7% between the urban voter and the rural voter turnout. That is close.
Okay,
The second part of the question.
Sir,
One minute, sir. The second part of the question.
No, sir, I'm really sorry because we have to give chance to other people. I'm really sorry, but I can allow only one question. Yeah. Yeah.
We know why to vote. That is exactly, I don't want to be left out. My hope that next time something is going to change, so we know why to vote, right? My question is, have you tackled in your book this issue? Do the politicians or the system know that how to respect that our aspiration and give the due to all of us?
Only he can respond. He is the most qualified to respond to this question.
Well, I think that's not a fair question to her because her book is about the motivation to vote and it's not on the response to the vote. And the response, your question is basically on the response to the vote and the respect of the vote. And I think it's just as it's a citizen's duty to vote, I think it's the politician's duty to respect that vote and to work at achieving the goals and the aspirations of his community and his vote bank, or the voters who voted for him, or the area he represents.
The other way to answer your question is also to say that you might know why you and your friends vote. Can you tell me why Dhankumar Pankaj, who is a Dalit woman in a small village without electricity in Chhattisgarh, votes? You don't. You can only talk about yourself and the people you know. So that's what sees what. When we say why India votes, we are not talking about people like us. We are talking about India as a country. That's all.
Not necessarily.
That's your reason, sweetheart. That's not everybody's.
All right.
It's not only
okay.
for a change.
Okay.
I just wanted to add that it's not only for a change that people vote. People can also vote
to
continue to keep a government in power.
All right. Thank you so much. We had a lovely discussion here. I want to thank and congratulate all of you. I want to thank the panelists. We had a brilliant discussion here. Thank you so much. Thanks.